people want connection. They want a feeling. You know, when something comes up in your newsfeed that makes you comment or makes you hit like or makes you share it, it's because you felt something. It created an emotion and it moved you into action. And that is quantifiable by an algorithm, which is a computer system. The algorithm interprets success as engagement.
Boom, 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 boom.
What's up, everybody? You're listening to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast with your boys, Mount Wolf and Joe Fier. Check it. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Hustle and Flowchart podcast. Today, we've got another really tactical episode for you. Today, we're going to talk about Facebook advertising. And our guest, Salome Schillack, she runs a business and podcast called Shine and Succeed over at shineandsucceed.com. But like I said, this one is going to be very, very tactical. She has a different approach to Facebook ads than some of the approaches we've talked about in the past. She's really all about building audiences, building engagement, building fans, creating brand awareness using Facebook ads, and less about going straight for a call to action with all of your Facebook ads. So it's a bit different of an approach, and I really, really think you're going to dig it. Also, if you're a podcaster, this has got some gold in it, because one of the nuts that we've been trying to crack on our own business is attempting to grow our podcast through Facebook ads. And so far, it hasn't been ultra successful. Our attempts have they've had mixed results. We haven't really cracked that nut and figured out how to really grow a podcast from Facebook ads. But Salome, on this episode, she's got a strategy that she's worked with other businesses on. In fact, our good friend Adam Schabel, he said that he had one of his biggest podcast days ever using one of the strategies that you're going to hear in this episode. So we're going to talk about Facebook ads, building engagement, building fans, quiz ads, how to create a very specific type of ad through quizzes, lots and lots of cool stuff. A really, really deep dive into a different approach to Facebook ads that I think you're going to really dig. Now, we are taking notes on this one. We always take notes on them. You can grab the notes, as always, by joining us in our Facebook group. If you go to flowchartgroup.com and request to join our Facebook group, one of the questions when you request to join the group is your email address. Now, the email address isn't required in order to join the group, but if you do give us your email address when you join the group, we'll send you the notes for whatever our latest episode is. So within 2 weeks of this episode going out, you can get the notes for free. All you got to do is join the group over at flowchartgroup.com. Make sure you enter your email address when joining the group, and we will hook you up with the notes. You're going to want the notes for this one. So check those out, join the group, and we'll hook you up. And again, we're talking to Salome Schillack, and her website is shineandsucceed.com. So let's go ahead and dive in.
All right. I think we are live with this new app thing that we're using. How are you guys? I think we're all here. So, Salome.
Salome.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. It's great to have you here. And we've been chatting for a while. And it was Adam Schabel that sent you our way. And he just had
Mr. Butter voice.
Yeah, I was going to say, our notes say Mr. Butter voice, not Adam.
Yeah, that's right. Mr. Butter voice. That's what you call it.
If we work on it, everyone can start calling him that.
It really does. We need to. I don't think we've had him on the show yet, but we'll have to.
That is definitely how we'll refer to him when we have him.
Yes. Start a thing, and he'll always remember it was me who started it.
There you go.
I love it. We can do that. But yeah, we got connected, and he was raving about the strategies with paid traffic and engagement, of course, which is probably the biggest key is you want engaging people after you send some paid traffic invest. But then he has a podcast, and you've really helped him grow that through your strategies. And I think that's what really we're like, aha, ding, that's a great idea. We would love that. And I know a lot of listeners as well. But yeah, I guess walk us. You have an interesting background. So you're from South Africa, like you were saying. You run a company in Australia, and it's women run across the board, I believe, right? And everyone's an immigrant.
My team, yes, we tick all the boxes. We tick all the boxes. Diversity, we can do better on diversity. I'll tell you that. We're working on it. But so I'm Salome Schillack. I live in beautiful Brisbane, Brisbane in Australia with my husband and my 2 wonderful daughters. But I am originally from South Africa, grew up, lived there until I was about 23. Then I moved to the UK. Lived there for a while and then came back to South Africa. And then my boyfriend at the time said he wants to look for a job overseas. Within a month, had a job in Australia. And within 3 months, we were down here and married and setting up a whole new life in Australia. And the funny thing is, and then when I started my business, I started working with Americans. So now I work with Americans all day long. I have a team across Australia, the Philippines, and the US and Canada, all women running Facebook ads for online course creators and the hosts of membership sites. So that's our jam. That's what we do all day.
Nice.
Yeah. So how did you get into it? How did you decide that the Facebook and the audience building and all this stuff was what you wanted to do? What were you doing before this? And, how did you get into this?
Oh, that's a great question. I had my first child. So I have a background in musical theater. And then when that didn't work out anymore, marketing. And then when we moved to Australia, I was looking for a marketing job, but I was living in Perth, which is on the west side of Australia, the most isolated city in the world. There's literally desert and ocean between that and anything else. And I thought, well, I'll just get another marketing job, not realizing that all the marketing companies are all based in Sydney, and I'm not going to get a marketing job in Perth. So I ended up, I had pharmaceutical marketing experience. So I ended up working as a pharmaceutical rep, which is a great job. And I loved it. And it kind of checked all the entrepreneur boxes for me that I had inside that I hadn't yet recognized as entrepreneur boxes. The I need freedom to do my own thing, the don't look over my shoulder and tell me what to do, the kind of rebellious, the just give me my little business and I'll make it work, kind of those boxes. And that worked great until I had a child. And part of being a pharmaceutical rep, especially in Australia, is you got to get on airplanes and go places. And I will never, ever forget the day I dropped she was about 10 months old, maybe a little bit older at that stage. But I dropped her off at daycare and it was Mother's Day. It was the day before Mother's Day, and all the other mummies came for morning tea. But I had to get on an airplane to go and talk to doctors in a rural town. And the reason I had to get on that plane that day was because some dude in an office in Sydney had a spreadsheet that said, based on the number of sales that my territory brings in, I have to spend certain number of days in these certain areas, and they had to be those days. And I just had this moment where I went, no dude with a spreadsheet will ever tell me again where I have to be, when I have to be there. That was a defining moment for me. That was a moment I got in my car and I bawled my eyes out. And it was an absolute defining moment for me in terms of going, working full time for a boss is not going to work for me. I am not going to be happy doing this with children. But I kind of felt like it's door number 1 is work full time. Door number 2 is stay at home full time. And that didn't work very well for me either, because a lot of women have said they feel very relieved when they hear me say, I would rather stick a fork in my eye than watch my children jump on the trampoline. I am just not. You've been there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I hear my wife say that too.
Yeah. But the thing is, women don't talk about that because you're supposed to enjoy watching them do mundane stuff. And you're supposed to enjoy feeding, cleaning, pooping, cleaning, feeding. You're supposed to enjoy that. And I'm not that mother. I need creative outlet. I need to conquer something. That's what, I have a drive to achieve something, and just the feeding and all the mundane stuff just didn't really do it for me. I'm enjoying my kids a lot more now that they're older and I can have conversations with them. So then I started, I thought coaching is the way to go, because I kind of looked at my skills and I was like, oh, geez, I can't sell anything. I don't know. Well, what am I going to start a business on? So, of course, the logical answer is life coaching. I'm going to go and do life coaching. So I enrolled in a life coaching course that ended up costing me $30,000. and tried to be a life coach. And then I heard the riches is in the niches. So I decided, well, I have a background in sales. So I niched down as a sales coach, and I couldn't sell my services. I was the sales coach who couldn't sell my own services. I'm sure people will associate with that.
That's kind of a good. Yeah, I'm like, that's a good metaphor, association that a lot of people probably have experienced. Either themselves directly, or they hired someone like that.
Or they hired someone.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was hard for me. And it's the first 2-3 years of being an entrepreneur. There's so much unlearning that has to happen, and so much internal work that has to happen. And so failing for a few years did me really well. It did me as a human. It turned me into a better human. But at the end of about 2 years of that, I was $40,000 in debt. And my husband was turning gray really fast. And we talked about it, and I decided to go back to my day job. And that was, at that point, I had already launched an online course because I realized that sales coaching wasn't for me. I realized coaching wasn't for me. I looked around me and realized it's an online business that I want. So I had narrowed it down to it's an online business. And so what I did but I don't know if do you guys remember Periscope?
Yes.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. For
sure. So when Periscope was still around, I used to go live every day and just talk about what I was learning about online marketing, and built up a little bit of an audience. And then Facebook Live launched. And the day Facebook Live launched, I was live. And because I'd been live fit, I was going live regularly. And everyone was saying, how are you doing this? And so I created my first online course called the Facebook Live Superstar. But I taught myself how to run Facebook ads, and I ran $400 worth of Facebook ads, and I made $2,000, and I packed it all up. I was like, this is not worth the work. I've worked hard for 3 years. I have failed hard for 3 years. $2,000. I can't feed my family on $2,000. And I wish somebody had sat me down at that moment and did the math for me and said, you put in 400, you get 2,000 out. That is a spectacular success, and you should just do it again. But I was exhausted and felt isolated, and I was just at the end of my rope, and we were $40,000 in debt. So I was like, I'm done. So I went back to my day job, and this time I worked for a different company again as a pharmaceutical rep, and I hated every minute of it. Just couldn't do it. But the amazing thing is I got to spend 6 hours in my car every day listening to online marketing training every single day. And I had my little phone up on the dash, mounted on the dash, and I went through every training on the planet. I made a deal with my husband, actually. I said to him, I will go back to my job if I can take $1,000 of my salary and use that for education. And he said, okay, you can do that. So I had $1,000 a month budget for education and 6 hours a day. So that job that I hated ended up being the best gift ever. And
that is the coolest. Yeah, that's the coolest way to leverage a job, especially even if for someone listening that might be listening to this right now, maybe not driving to work, but moving to their bedroom for work or something after lockdown. But you're leveraging that time and you're motivating yourself. And I guess you have that budget. You actually have this allocated amount of money that you can apply to that thing. Super smart. I
think for me at the time, I felt if I'm going to go back to my job so that we can pay off this debt, I need to be able to work towards getting out of it again. And I need to be able to not feel trapped. And I knew that taking a part of the salary that I got from my job and allocating it to this thing that I didn't even know what this thing was. I just knew there was freedom on the other end of this online thing. I don't know what it was. I didn't know what it was going to be. There was freedom at the end of this thing, and it required time, and it required money, and it required my energy. And I can put in all three of those things while I'm checking boxes for someone else and while I'm doing my job. And I will tell you, I sucked at my job that year. I was the most unengaged. My poor boss, I sucked at it. But I showed up and I checked the boxes, and it was about 10 months into it. I got on an airplane from Perth to San Diego. It's a 30-hour round trip. Yes. 30 hours. And I went to an online marketing conference that was amazing. And for the first time, I sat in a room with people there who were just like me and who had the same dreams as me and the same struggles as me. And while I was at my job, I started freelancing as a Facebook ads manager, because that Facebook ads kind of came naturally to me, and I didn't realize a lot of other people struggle with it. So I just started first taking on clients for free, and then for like $500 a month, and then $750 a month, and it grew a little bit organically. And at the end of that conference, I walked away with 4 new clients, and I came home and I quit my job and I started working as a freelancer, full-time freelancer, and hustled my ass off that year and turned it into an agency. Yeah.
I bet that 15-hour flight back home was feeling pretty good. At that point, you just closed 4 clients. You're like, I'm quitting this thing. I'm out.
I'm quitting. It's the best feeling. It's the best feeling. There's defining moments in that journey, and that was a defining moment for me. Yeah. And the rest is history. The rest is now I have a 5 women team of people who serve online course creators. And we only do online course creators, no e-commerce, no anything else, just online course creators. That's all we do. And we build engaged audiences for them and scale their businesses.
Well, and I know a lot of the strategies, like I mentioned, Adam, being a podcaster, I know he's applied your strategies in kind of a different way, but that you guys as an agency, course creators. And I think maybe talk about what you found, because we were talking before hitting record, how there's a lot of folks that run ads or can run ads and teach ads or even agencies, but they're not really thinking about engagement, like the piece that happens maybe during the ad, but also after the ad. So maybe walk us through some of your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So, you got to think back about January 2018 when Mark Zuckerberg announced the big change to the algorithm, right? If you think about what he said Facebook will from now on favor the content of friends and family over that of marketers. Because when people come to the platform, what they want is friends and family. What they want is connection. When you come to a social media platform and you're bombarded with marketing messages, what do? You leave. You go somewhere else. And, gone are the days, Mark realized, gone are the days where it's just Facebook and Instagram. As soon as Snapchat arrived on the scene, they were like, oh, we got a problem. So they realized that people want connection. They want a feeling. When something comes up in your newsfeed that makes you comment or makes you hit like or makes you share it, it's because you felt something. It's because it touched you, because it created an emotion and it moved you into action. And that is quantifiable or measurable by an algorithm, which is a computer system, through engagement. That is what the algorithm interprets success as engagement, So what Mark really was saying is we want engaging content on the platform, because that keeps people there. It brings people back. It keeps them connected, and it keeps the relationships going. And we kind of stumbled upon this thing where we had a client who built a beautiful audience on Instagram. And then when the algorithm changed, she said, I've worked so hard to build this audience on Instagram, and they have just completely died on me. I don't know where they are. They're not responding. And she creates amazing, incredible engaging content. So we said, well, we're just going to start running some engagement ads. We just want to see what happens if we run some ads that are optimized for engagement, because she creates such good content. We're just going to take some of her great posts, run it as an engagement ad, So that's an ad where you tell Facebook, go get me engagement specific. And we targeted it to her warm audiences. So her audiences that have already liked her page, that have already following her on Instagram, that have been to her website or that's on her email list. So people that have self-nominated to be in her world. We started running some of her content to them. And it was like her Instagram account woke up. It's like, when the sun comes up and it kind of lifts its face and it's like,
Sure.
like that's what happened to her Instagram account. But that's not all that happened. She also said her Shopify account, because she sells journals. She was saying her Shopify account has increased sales. She said her podcast has increased downloads. And she said her website has increased hits. Now, if you think about engagement, like if something comes onto your newsfeed and you like it, you like it so much that you engage with it. The next thing you do is you're going to go, oh, who is this person? And you click on their profile. And then you're going to read through at least 20 of their latest posts, right? And then something will catch your eye. And then you're going to go to the link in their bio and click to go to their website. And then you're going to subscribe to their podcast. So engagement begets engagement, right? And for her, what we saw, and this is 2 years ago, what we saw was it just all of a sudden kicked off this awakening of our entire digital ecosystem. And so we just stock standard started running engagement ads for all of our clients. Like as soon as they come on board and work with us, we take their best social media posts and we put like literally $5 a day on their best social media posts and run it as engagement ads. Now, what we learned in the meantime is we run it to warm audiences, but then we also use it to cold audiences to kind of, lead with an engaging piece of material. Lead with, hello, this is what I stand for, this is who I am, and this is how you can connect with me. And there's no call to action. There's no like do this thing or download this thing or get this thing. It's all just, this is who I am, this is what I stand for. And we found you can kind of interchange videos or images depending on what you want to do. Sometimes images work really well on Instagram. Sometimes videos work better. And we kind of combine it a little bit with video views ads as well. But it's having this top of funnel, this first point of contact with people where you're just saying hi in a way that moves them. Yeah. So that's what we learned. So now, and then, there's another part of this where we saw that people who are just starting out, who has no audience, is completely stuck building an audience because Facebook doesn't show their stuff to their followers because they don't have engagement, but they don't have engagement because Facebook doesn't show their stuff. So it's this wicked catch-22. Right. And so now I teach new online marketers, new online course creators, people who are trying to build their audience from scratch. I teach them the strategy to use $5 a day on engagement ads and just wake up their accounts. And I'll tell you, I've had conversations with Facebook where they have literally looked at the accounts we managed and gone, this is fantastic because we're running engagement ads, we're running video views ads, we're running traffic ads, and we're running conversion ads. So, traditionally, you go back to 2017, what everyone was just running conversion ads because we just want to get people on our list and we want them to get them to buy our stuff.
Right.
But it doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah. This is actually a conversation Matt and I have been having just with posting normal posts, on social. And the more we post just content and things that we think people that follow us, or at least the people that we want to follow us, will come. They will come to that post and engage. But the more we do that, what do you know? More of those people come and engage. And like just like you said, organically, you could probably take that same approach or something similar.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm curious, what kind of content would you put in these posts? Because the common wisdom would be you want some sort of call to action. Are you just not even putting a call to action in the first one? Just, hey, here's something that you'll find valuable, but if you find this valuable, you'll end up deeper down my rabbit hole.
Absolutely.
Is that kind
yeah.
of the idea then?
That's the idea. So of course we create custom audiences first off. We create audiences that captures anyone who does engage with this. So whether they click to read more, whether they watch 3 seconds or 15 seconds of a video, whether they just, whatever they do. So the first most important thing is to create those custom audiences, and you want to make sure you have people who engaged with you on Facebook in X number of days. So if you're just starting out, I would say start with 180 days. But if you're getting some traction, the smaller that you make that window of engagement time, the more like recently they engaged with you. So then you'll be more memorable. So of course, we want to start by creating those audiences so that we capture them, so that if they engage, at least we know we can do something with them, So we'll be retargeting them later. So you create these custom audiences, and then the content, the way that I teach people when they're starting out with this, the first clue to what is good engagement content is look at what has done well on your social feeds. Look at what people have already connected with, what has already gotten people to comment, what's gotten people to share, what is already triggering an emotion for people. So look at that and then taste it, run it to your, $5 a day, we're playing, we're having fun. This is not wasting money. This is not like putting your life savings in it. You can approach it with a very playful attitude and taste and see what works. And so the first clue is if you have social media content that have worked well, try that. But in terms of content, what I tell people to create is you want to make sure that it causes someone to feel something. So it can either be something that's a little controversial. You can say, like, I have a video where I say social media is dead, right? Or I could create the same video and say social media is not dead, you're just doing it wrong. For somebody who is who's in my ideal audience, immediately they're like, what? Well, hang on, what? Say that again. And then I can talk about this a little bit of you just need engagement, and that's why your social media is dead. And so in that piece of content, you need to pull them in. You need to make them feel something, and then what I always say is you have to show them that you're their person. Show them that either you get their pain or you understand their desires, and you can build authority just through that. But it's kind of like you've got to think of it as Adam calls it the "how you doing" strategy. It's like Joey from the show Friends walking in and saying, "How you doing?" It's how you doing? It's the piece of content that connects with them. So you don't need to be overly pushy. You don't need to have any call to action. All you want them to do is to go, yes, you're my person. You feel me.
Yeah.
You understand me. I want to like this. I want to comment on this. And that's all you need. And now they're in a custom audience. Now you're going to retarget them with your list building ad or your podcast ad or your something ad.
Yeah.
So is the measure of success on these ads when you're looking in the dashboard on Facebook, are you just looking at comments, likes, engagement? That's pretty much the metric you're testing to see if that $5 is $5 well spent, because obviously you're probably testing different things. You're looking on your Facebook page and going, okay, that worked. Let's run this as an ad. And you might test a few different things. So to pick the winner, the metrics you're looking at are which ones are getting the likes and comments and that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Now I want to say there's a couple of different reasons why we keep these ads running. The one is when you look at your ad and you're getting shares, that then you're in the pound seat. That's the best. You're getting comments, perfect, ideal, you love it. You're getting likes, okay, that's good. But you might look at your ad account and see that you're getting no comments, no likes, no shares, but you're still just paying a cent for an engagement. And that ad can be worth keeping purely for what it is feeding into your ad account quality. Because our ad accounts, Facebook will never admit to this, but I am telling you this because I see it. And I have spoken to some other people who run agencies and they say the same thing. But Facebook ranks our accounts.
Oh, yeah. And we've heard that from some others on the show here too.
Yeah. They will never admit it, but they do. And actually, I should say some people who work there has admitted it to me, but there's like hush hush, don't let the Facebook secrets out. Your account is ranked and given a quality score based on things like engagement. So even if you have an ad that is not getting comments or shares or likes, but it's getting you about a cent, you're paying about a cent per engagement, but that engagement isn't visible, I tell my students to just keep it. Because just keep it, forget about it, let it run. It's probably running to a cold audience at this stage because it's building your account mojo. And that mojo in the long run brings down your conversion costs. So this client that I told you about.
So you're investing on the front end.
Yes. You're buying favor with Facebook. That's what you're buying, literally. But you're also, you're also leading into your custom audiences because people are engaging with it. So you could potentially end up having an ad that's just running low and slow in the background, that's just building your account mojo, that's not necessarily getting any visible engagement, but it's getting engagement, so it's building up the mojo, which is good. And then you may want to play with other pieces of content where you are actively seeking comments, where you are actively seeking actual engagement with people. And I'd probably run those more to my warm audiences because people who are already in your world, like you want to build relationship with them. You want to create deeper connections with them. So you want to put something useful in front of them. You want to put something funny in front of them. You want to put your best piece of content in front of them, and you want them to engage. So those are the two different goals that we have with this. And we saw this client that I told you about that we kind of stumbled upon this. When she started working with me, she sells a low dollar offer, $240 online course. And she said to me, I have to get leads under $2, otherwise it doesn't make sense to do this. And we worked and we got them under $2. And then we started this engagement strategy. And over a year later, she was paying 30 cents, between 30 cents and 80 cents. Continuously under $1 for a lead. She's the only person whose ad cost came down in 2018. Everyone else's went up. So we were like, we're onto something here. So that account quality and that mojo that you build up, it rewards you in the long term by bringing down your conversion costs.
This is so cool.
Yeah, I keep thinking of like just organic posts, just because it's things that Matt and I have been testing more so and kind of getting back into. Because honestly, for a while, Matt and I were just like, social media, we're just kind of, we're done with you. And, we kind of, which is dumb because our
2020 was kind of a rough year on social media in my eyes.
Definitely. It's interesting because like you said, you feed the system with good content, the right people show up and they're going to, like, comment and all that stuff. But it's interesting because like when you're posting something on Facebook organically, you're not going to put a call to action on there typically every single time like someone would with an ad. So it's like, why are our brains trying to just jump to like, got to get them to do something, got to do something. It's like, just be cool. And then like later on when they trust you, that's when you show up with something that's relevant. Yeah.
And as long as you've got those custom audiences built, for me, it kind of takes away that feeling of that FOMO of, I got to get them to do something, because I know, I'm going to give you some, I'm going to create a piece of content. I'm going to create a social media post that you're going to love and you're just going to love it. But I'm putting you in a custom audience and you're going to be retargeted later, and when they like it and they enjoy it, of course they're going to want your lead magnet. Of course they're going to want to show up for your webinar. Of course they're going to sign up for your challenge or your, thing, or they're going to go listen to your podcast. But the algorithm's not going to put your stuff in front of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a guy named Kurt Molly on the show a couple times.
Yeah, I love him.
And he talks about that middle of funnel, that warm audience is almost like, see it almost as like another mailing list, right? You're building this audience of people. Once they engage with these cold audiences and now they know who you are, you have an audience that you can put offers in front of, just like you would a mailing list. So if you're going to go promote a product, you mail your list, but you also put it right in front of that warm audience that you've been cultivating of people who have interacted with your cold ads.
Yes,
so
exactly.
I love that concept.
Yeah. So Kurt's strategy is kind of a tactic that uses the exact same principles of what I'm talking about. It's the, lead with value, build the relationship, and, give them something that is of value to them, and then bring them in and then convert them.
Yeah. Well, I want to try to translate this over to podcasting a little bit. So I was talking to Adam. This is probably about a week ago, and he made a comment to me about how he ran a Facebook ad that got him his biggest podcast download day that he's ever had. And so I said, "Hey, that ad that you mentioned, you mind breaking it down for me?" He's like, "I don't need to. You're talking to Salome in a couple of days. She'll break it down for you." And I was like, "All right then." So can we go there? And I don't know if you're familiar with the ad that Adam ran or not, but I want to hear kind of the philosophy or idea behind it.
Sure. So, I told Adam to do one of two things, and I'm not sure which one he did. So I'll just share both of them with you.
Awesome.
So the strategy that I'm using to build my podcast that is also resulting in better downloads for me, I can like the 3 episodes that I'm running ads to are the best episodes, and they continue to be the best episodes. And they're just, it's beautiful because it's magically bringing me listeners. I love it. So what we do is we create, how you create your show notes page. It's a page that's on your website. So you have to have a page on your website with your pixel on. And what I do is you have right at the top, you'll have the name of the podcast, of course, and maybe a benefit of why people should listen. Because remember, you got to pull them in immediately. You got to give them a reason to listen straight off the bat. And then we have the little link to the audio where they can listen. So they can listen right there after clicking. Because imagine you're standing in line in the bank, or you're sitting on the couch, scrolling through. We got to make it easy for them. We don't want them to go and subscribe and do this and do that and do the other thing. Click, listen, easy. So you've got the little listening button. You guys will know what the technical term is for that little thingamajiggy with the listening button.
Player.
And the player. There's the
we don't have a technical term for it.
It's above my pay grade. And then right below that, you have a subscribe button, right? So those who, even if they just listen, maybe they listen just for a few seconds, and then they're going to click subscribe, and they're going to be taken to your Apple or your wherever you host your podcast. And then below that, we have a list of, like you would have show notes. Again, here's the amazing thing that you'll learn at this timestamp. Here's the other amazing thing you'll learn at this timestamp. And here's the other amazing things you'll learn at this timestamp. So we have that there. And then another subscribe here. And then you might have the transcription if you want, or, something else. And then you might also on that page have a opportunity for them to join your email lists. You give them some kind of a free lead magnet that is related to the podcast episode, because they clicked because they're interested in the podcast content. So make it related. It's not just your stock standard thing. It's something that's related to that. So that's kind of how we build the page. And then we run traffic landing page view ads to this. So then you would create an ad, and you would, in the copy of the ad, you explain the benefits of listening to the podcast episode, and it's a click here to listen now, and they click and they go to this landing page where they can immediately listen, where they can subscribe, and where they get captured into a custom audience of people who have been there. And so you can, you can create retargeting ads for people who went to that page but didn't opt in for your free thing, and you retarget them with your free thing. So they're in your ecosystem as soon as they've clicked there. And miraculously, what we've seen is it grows the listenership on those episodes. And don't ask me how, because we can't directly, Facebook doesn't directly tell us how many people have subscribed to the podcast as a result of this. The only stat we have in Facebook is how many people clicked to go to the landing page. But as long as you're paying kind of around $1.50, I'd say like your ad is hitting it. Your ad is on target if you're paying somewhere between $1 and $1.50 to get someone onto your landing page, which sounds expensive. But if you just you put literally, we run them low dollar budgets. I think I'm running some for like $3, and I just switch it on and set it and forget it. And then when I go in and I look, I'm like, holy cow, these podcast episodes are the top performing podcast episodes, and people are clicking on my ads. So they must be then listening. It's working. It's working.
Yeah. So you said those are ads in Facebook that are traffic landing page type ads then?
Yes. So you optimize for traffic, and then at ad set level where you choose the type of traffic, you get to choose between clicks or landing page views. You choose landing page views because you want people to not just click, you want them to go to the page. You actually want them to listen, or read about it. And then make sure that you set up that custom audience of people who did click to that landing page, because that's going to be another useful audience for you to retarget with your lead magnet, or with a second episode of your podcast, or with a video, or with a something. Because now if you're being strategic about how you build, I talk about the golden thread, like if you take them on a purposeful journey where your messaging starts with value, some kind of, maybe you have an engagement ad that touches on the topic of your podcast. Everyone who engages with that then gets sent the podcast episode ad, and then they get sent a lead magnet. By the time they move down your funnel, by the time they're on your email list or get to your evergreen low dollar offer, like they're ready to buy.
Wow. This is super cool. Is there a way, do you have a process of selecting which podcast you promote, which podcast episode, or is it just kind of at random?
I just choose the best ones. I choose the ones that, that my audience have already indicated to me is valuable to them. I also
kind of like a social post then, in a way.
Yeah, but I would also be strategic about what phase of your launch are you in. So when we launch online courses, there's the pre-launch runway phase where you're kind of 3 months out from launching your course, and your messaging starts, fine tuning. So when I'm launching a course about list building or audience building, my podcast episode starts aligning with audience building and list building. The lead magnet I'm running is related to audience building or list building. But when I'm launching a course about launching, then the content switches a little bit. The conversation switches a little bit. So it may depend on which of your funnels you are purposefully trying to build at that time. You're purposefully trying to warm people up and bring them in at the top, so that once you say, well, my masterclass is now open, go grab your seat, you have a nice, big, warm audience of people who have listened to the podcast episodes, maybe multiple podcast episodes related to that piece of, that problem that you solve. And they've watched your engagement videos, and they've engaged with you on Facebook, and they've joined you live, and they, it's just, you want to build that conversation. So be purposefully with something you're going to sell in mind, because we can build audiences all day, but if we don't, you got to start with the end in mind, and the end is you're going to pay me for my knowledge.
Yeah. No, it's perfect. That's great, and I'm happy you said that because it's easy to then figure out. Okay, well, like we have an affiliate marketing tool stack episode that was very popular, but we also have a lead opt-in that's custom to that. That basically gives it away for free, and then that triggers all sorts of fun stuff afterwards. So
all sorts of fun stuff. You reverse engineer that, and create then run the podcast episode, and then create some engagement content for that, and you've built a funnel.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of putting all this together, like you could kind of combine the strategies you're talking about here too, where you maybe pull like a 5-minute clip from a podcast episode that's really a good takeaway from that episode, run that to a cold audience, make it a pure engagement ad. Then when people trickle down from that engagement ad, that's where you're doing these landing page optimizations over to your show notes. So if somebody just watched, a clip from this episode right here that we're doing right now, and it's a 5-minute clip that they really like, well, anybody who watched past, let's say 25%, now we're linking them over to where they can go and click and listen to the full episode on our show notes page.
Yeah. And you can even grab a quote. Yeah, you grab a quote from this, you stick it on an image, you run that as an engagement post, and then you run the video as a video views ad. Now you're getting both those optimizations. You're getting engagement and you're getting video views. You have a video views custom audience, so anyone who watches the video is getting captured. You have an engagement audience. Anyone who engages is getting captured. Then you retarget them with the podcast, and you have purposefully put that podcast in front of people who've already self-selected that this is something, they've already raised their hand and said, I'm interested in this. I like this. I want more of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And Facebook just recently lifted the restrictions on text and images too. So you can actually run ads to quotes now because Facebook isn't saying only 20% can be text anymore. That's an old rule now.
Yeah. Finally, they lifted it. It's funny because they've lifted it before and then they brought it back. So we'll see what they do.
Well, it's perfect for all of us making a bunch of audiograms with our podcasts, either animated videos or just a freaking image that's just a quote from the episode. I mean, we have tons of that. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
So I've one last little thing that I think would be kind of cool to touch on. I have a note here on growing your list through quiz ads. Can you speak into what a quiz ad is for a second?
Yes. So quizzes, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but quizzes are all the rage at the moment. Everyone's doing what's your bleep personality type, or, what's your... those sorts of quizzes. So as lead magnets, I think it's kind of the Ryan Levesque ask method quiz that, like, he kind of kicked off this trend to create quizzes. And to segment your audience using quizzes, which is really super smart. And I created a piece of content about quizzes because I noticed that people either succeed. Well, this whole quiz thing took off massively in the online worlds where I move. And the reason it did is because some people are just cleaning up with quizzes. It is just doing so well for them. Yep. And then other people are like, it's just tanking completely. So it kind of is this thing where you're either going to massively succeed or massively tank. So I've created a piece of content to teach people the ad side of that and why sometimes it tanks and sometimes it works. And what it comes down to is, there's a few things, but the first thing is you have to have a niche where people are already wondering about the thing that you're quizzing them on. It has to be a question they're already grappling with. So, for example, a business coach who creates a quiz, what's your best business model? Tanks. Because nobody goes to bed thinking, what is my best business model? I want to think of a few examples of ones where I've seen it tank. Anything where you're just driving people. I've seen what's your best Facebook ads what's your Facebook ads personality? Not something people go to bed with worrying about.
Never even heard of that. Yeah. Why would I care?
Yeah. Yes. Or what's your online marketing 80s persona? Not a problem I go to sleep with.
Yeah. Marketing superpower.
Marketing superpower. I've literally seen that one. Which marketing superhero are you? And it's cute, and maybe it works on social media, but because your people, your tribes, maybe they're going to take it. But if you run ads to it, like nobody's going to click. So where it does work well is where you have a very specific niche and it is a question people are already grappling with. So what I've seen work really well is I worked with someone she teaches people how to uncover their intuition or connect with their intuition. And her quiz is, what is your intuitive type? And she runs it to an audience who are already grappling with this question of what is my intuitive type? Is this intuition thing real? Can I trust it? Is this something that works for, they're already grappling with what is this thing that I'm feeling inside that I think is something. And then she says, what is your intuitive type? And that works really well. And I'm trying to think of some other examples. I'll think of some other examples where it works really well. But it's usually I've seen a money mindset coach run one where she says, "What is your financial? How did she call it? What is your?" It's almost like a personality type, but she emphasized that we have different ways that we interact with money, and the different type of money personality you have will determine how you spend and how you save and what your money mindset challenges are. Because for some of us it's spending, for others of us it's saving, for we all have different. So she had this, what is your money mindset? It was a personality or something, but that worked really well because her audience is already into money mindset and they already know that, but what I struggle with and what someone else struggles with is not the same. Or that it might be like the way I deal with money is different from how my husband deals with money. And how do we take our two money personalities and blend it so that we stop fighting about money? Yeah. So that worked really well. But the challenge with challenge ads is this: when you're running them, because normally when we're running lead magnet ads, right? We have a landing page that we send people to, and we have a thank you page, and the ad goes to the landing page. They opt in, they land on the thank you page. A conversion occurred. Super straightforward, easy. There's one step, and then they convert. With a quiz, you're running an ad to a landing page. People come to the landing page and then they decide to take the quiz. And then they go to quiz page 1. And then they go to quiz page 2. And then they go to quiz page 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and wherever. And then they get to the final page where it says, awesome, to get your results, opt in for this thing. And then they need to give you their email address. And then they're a conversion. Then they are a conversion. So a mistake that a lot of people make is they set the ads up the way they would set up a lead magnet, where they set the conversion on the first page. And that is not, in fact, a conversion. A conversion is multiple pages deep. So you've got to set that conversion for when they've given you their email address. And now you've got to make sure that your marketing is good enough that people are clicking to the landing page and then going down this rabbit hole of the quiz. And then you give them enough incentive to give you their email address. And you also have to put enough budget on this ad. So I always say, when you're running quiz ads, starts with $50 a day. That's, for someone who's just starting out, $50 a day can be high for a lead magnet. But if your marketing works and you can strategically bring them to that quiz and they love it, and you're paying cents to get them to the landing page, and they're taking the quiz, and you're good at enticing them to give you their email address and then opt in, that conversion that is on the thank you page that happens multiple pages deep, once you get the first one, the algorithm learns and it goes and finds you more people like that. and it brings them in. And then you get the second one and the algorithm learns and it will bring you more. And if you start with $50 a day, you should get enough conversions. You should get at least $50 a day. You should get at least 30 conversions in those first per day, in those first 3 days. If you're getting 30 conversions in those first 3 days per day, then the algorithm will be able to optimize. And then if you have enough conversions, you should be able to bring that budget down a little bit. But yeah, I teach this because quizzes are so popular, and people they put a quiz up on their social media and it works great. And then they want to run an ad to it. And then either it doesn't work because the marketing, it's just not an enticing question that they're asking, or B, they set up the ad wrong and then they end up wasting money.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So do you have any specific tools that you point people to create these quizzes that you found to work better than others?
Good question. The one that, you're asking me something that I am forgetting now. There is a tool that works better for if you're running ads than the other one. It is Try something. I forget. I will email you that and then you can put it in the show notes.
We'll link it. Yeah.
Well, I know a handful of quiz builders. Is it Interact by chance? Interact Quiz Builder? Because I think their website might be Try Interact.
Try Interact. Yeah.
Yeah, that's Josh Heyman's product. Yeah, he's been on the show.
Great. Okay. Yeah. It's Try Interact. Let me see if it is that one. Try Interact.
Yeah, that's a great tool. We actually use that for quizzes, and I think we have some running right now with it.
We do.
Oh, fantastic! Brilliant. Yes, it's Try Interact. Yes.
We're not using this Try. Nice. Good guess, Matt.
I got it because you said Try, and I knew that's the one that popped to mind. And I think had Try in the domain name. So very cool. Along the lines of tools, any other tools that you like to leverage a lot for ads or landing pages or any other thing? What does your tool stack look like?
Oh, great question. I love ActiveCampaign. ActiveCampaign is one of my favorite tools in the business. Love how I can just do all my email stuff on there, and it's smart and it gives us good data. So when we bring a client on board and they tell me they use ActiveCampaign, I'm very happy immediately. What else? Tools. We use Help Scout every single day. I love Help Scout in the business. We use, this is a very basic one, but rev.com for captions for ads. There are more tools coming into the market now that does the same thing as Rev, and Facebook has gotten better with their native caption creation, even for people with weird accents like me. In the beginning, they were just like, the stuff I said was just weird and funny, but that's getting better. What other tools? Let me think. That's a good question. I don't think about the tools that I use very often. What other categories are there that I can tell you what tools I love?
How about the page builders or membership site, or all the stuff that's kind of happening, I guess, after the marketing, the input? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I still use WordPress. I love WordPress for my website. We host our online courses on Kajabi, which I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with Kajabi. I love how they host our courses, because the courses, it's easy to use. But I'm looking at something else that is coming up, which I use for video content, which is Searchy. I don't know if you guys have heard of Searchy. So Searchy, Stu McLaren. So I signed up for Searchy due to the fact that it integrates with Kajabi, and my students can literally search for any keyword. And then it brings up a list of all the videos, so the video training and the live Q&As, where they can have a look and go, here she talks about that, there she talks about that, there she talks about that, which makes it super easy for me to just tell them very often when I'm finding repetitive questions. I go, just go search for that keyword. It's in the training. You'll find it there. So I don't have to repeat it, because I like coaching my students. And some questions are better than others. And some questions questions, you can just go, hey, go watch the video, and others you can then coach people. So Searchy is now becoming a membership tool as well, where they're changing to like become full-blown membership site hosts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the beauty of that is you can segment your audience into the different places where they're at in their journey, and based on where they're at, you can only show them certain pieces of content. So that gets rid of the overwhelm. Because in memberships, people they leave because they're overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. But with this new tool, I'm really intrigued, and I'm looking into using that. They can say, well, this is where I'm at in my journey. And then you just show them the content that's relevant to them. And then when they've worked through that, you're like, okay, now you're ready to move on. And here's the content that's relevant to you for that. So I love that. We do still build a lot of landing pages on Kajabi as well, because it's so easy.
I'm kind of curious. You mentioned Active Campaign. Do you have any strategies tied into Facebook and all the engagement stuff you're doing there? Because I know I think it's the pro account, Matt. Is it on Active Campaign? You're able to kind of see who's engaging with your emails and then tie that over to your website and even feed custom audiences to your Facebook ads too.
Yeah, good question. I will say the very basic thing that we teach all of our clients and that we teach all of our students to do is just a simple feature that Active Campaign and every other CRM has is tagging. So there's some fancy stuff that you can do in there. And I'll be honest with you, this is where I'm the CEO and I pay someone to do the fancy stuff. Right. So the UTM stuff, I have someone taking care of that, and she's amazing at it. And I can't even speak to it because I know nothing of it. Right. But when we work with clients, very often they come to us and they've managed to create this, multiple six-figure funnel with their online course, and they're making $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 with live launches. And then we say to them, great, do you know the people that bought your course, do you know which lead magnet they opted in for? And the answer is 9 out of 10 times, I don't know. Or we would say, or how many of the people who downloaded your lead magnet also opted in for your webinar? And the answer is, I don't know.
No clue.
And so we help them set these things up. And that is as simple as putting a tag on every lead magnet, putting a tag on every webinar, putting a tag, every opt-in, everything people opt in for, just put a tag on there so that we can then reverse engineer it and go, okay, so we want to figure out where these buyers are coming from so that we can strategically use ads to get more people who are eventually going to turn into buyers. Because we don't just want leads, we want leads who's actually going to buy our stuff, right? So basic tagging, and then we work our way back and we go, okay, so we have 5 different lead magnets. We look at the buyers, we look at the lead magnets, and we go, there's 2 lead magnets that look like they resulted in the most number of buyers. So let's never spend any money on the 3 that didn't result in buyers. So we just spend money for ads on the 2, or often if there's 2, one might be related to a different course or a different offer that they have. And we'll say, well, here we can see the start of this funnel. People, when they opt into this lead magnet, they are 50% more likely to then become a buyer. So let's allocate our Facebook ad dollars to this lead magnet. And then we can see people who opted in for a specific lead magnet, or we can look at the buyers and go, what percentage of the buyers were brand new and just signed up, joined your list for the first time in your webinar? And what percentage of them, of the people who joined the webinar, were already on your list? And we can strategize around that and go, well, okay, what we can see is they have to be on your email list in order to sign up for your webinar, in order to become a sale. And that tells us we can't evergreen this program yet because people need that nurturing. They need the time. They need to be in your world. But if we look at it and we go, well, 70% of the people who ended up as buyers signed up for the webinar for the first time, then we go, whoa, this is something that can very easily be evergreened, because if they're likely to join as a cold person and come into your world for your webinar and then convert to a sale, that's a beautiful evergreen potential. That's something we can very easily then evergreen. So we that's our game. That's what we play. That's how we scale online course businesses. So no super fancy things, just basic tagging. But great question.
I love it.
Yeah.
Keep it. Oh yeah. There's all these features, and that was just one of them because we work with some email guys that do the fancy stuff for us as well.
I know. I need to learn the fancy stuff. I need to learn the fancy stuff. I know there's a lot of them that does fancy stuff with Facebook ads, and I'll be honest with you. Oftentimes, it's a distraction.
Sure.
And people get
80-20, right?
People get really excited about fancy stuff. And I just go, let's just get the basics right first. Let's just get let's make sure your marketing, your market message matches there. Let's make sure we're tracking how people are converting. Let's make sure we're doing the basic stuff and then look at the fancy stuff. But I am curious about the fancy email stuff because email rates are down, man. It's down. The email open rates. It's terrible.
Well, yeah. And like you said, there's a lot of folks that we've even talked to on the podcast that are doing big, huge things. And they're like, when it comes to email, because we talk about segmenting and all the journeys that we build on the back of our content, they're just like, oh my God, I don't do any of that. I just broadcast, almost like scream at everybody all at once with a megaphone.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That's probably why it's happening.
It's probably why.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot here, Matt. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
We covered a lot of ground. I think I'm sure we can probably cover another hour worth of amazing stuff, but we might have to save that for a future round 2 or something.
For sure. Well, tell us about, I know you have a program that's, I think by the time this went live is live now and active, but tell folks how they can go find you and join some of your courses and trainings that you have out there.
Well, they can just go to shineandsucceed.com. That is my website, shineandsucceed.com. It's a lot easier to spell than Salome Schillack. So Shine and Succeed. And then on the website there's some free resources for you there if you're interested in building engaged audiences. And there's a link there if you're looking for an agency to run your ads for you as well.
In your podcast? That's on there, I'm sure, too.
On the podcast. Okay. That's the other big thing that's on there. Yes. So lots of free stuff. The podcast.
Can't forget the podcast.
The podcast is called The Shine Show. And I talk about a lot about online marketing and Facebook ads there.
Well, I think this is amazing. And thank you for sharing the podcast growth strategies specifically for us, because we're selfish and we're going to totally send that to our team and actually implement that. And we'll let you know some case studies after we get some results.
I would love to see it. You can go and look at the ads I'm running for my podcast and just do that.
That's even a better idea. Well, thank you so very much, and we'll definitely tell you how it all goes and share this like crazy, because
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Other people need to know.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
Oh boy.
So
we got a lot to marinate on.
Yeah. Well, a little behind the scenes on this one before we get into the marination. Joe and I are sort of back in mega lockdown again, so we're not in the same place recording. If you remember back in the very, very, very beginning of lockdown, back in April, we were recording in separate locations, and when we finally got a little leeway, we started getting back together and recording in person, but now we're in full lockdown mode again.
Yes. We've always been, I feel like, kind of like bubble boys. I think everyone has kind of been thinking that way at least, but now it's like we're in San Diego and total bubble boy, at least at the time of this recording. Ideally, when it goes out, we're not as bubbly. The world is safer, but this is and we're using a tool. Let's shout out the tool we're using. We're not actually using Zoom for this because we know how annoying Zoom can be in many respects. Like we've experienced call drops and weird internet blips and crappy video and audio, like degrading, and sometimes it's like our internet's like blazing fast. We're like, what's the problem here?
Yeah, Zoom a lot of times.
Yeah, so we're using Riverside.fm.
FM. That's right. Yeah, and it's really cool because what it's basically doing is it's recording my video and my audio locally on my computer. It's recording Joe's video and audio locally on his, and then our guest, in today's case, Salome's video and audio on her end, and then it just basically throws it all into Dropbox for us. So everybody's audio is recorded on their end. So even if we do have internet connection issues or bandwidth issues or app issues or any of that kind of stuff, it recorded the audio on their end. And ideally, this should be some of the best audio quality we've had to date. So theoretically, we haven't heard it yet. We're still recording this stuff, so we don't know what it's going to sound like, but we're assuming it sounds better than normal, hopefully.
Yeah. And so if you're a podcaster, you're thinking about doing some like just interviews like this, or even just maybe a meeting, I don't know, check out Riverside.fm. We are not sponsored by them at all. They are getting a shout out because it's kind of cool. Seems like it's working better so far.
Yeah. So, I dug it.
All right. So this episode was packed with exactly what we wanted to learn. Like, I mean, we were very blatant about our selfishness. Yeah. And she knew that going into. But yeah, Salome, amazing, just results that our friends and mainly Mr. Buttervoice over there has experienced. Adam Scheibel. What's the name of his podcast now? It used to be called Casting the Pod.
I think it's called The School of Podcasting, I think. Maybe I'll look that up real quick just to make sure.
So shout out to Adam for the introduction because, it was just raving that her strategies are just the engagement is untouchable. And the fact that you can apply that to anything, she applies it to course creators and that kind of stuff, primarily in the agency, but podcast growth. I mean, like this is the constant thing that we're asked is how do you grow a podcast? Well, there's about 1 million ways to do it. And you can do there's no quick, this is probably the most direct line to growth that we've found outside of like promoting on podcast platforms, direct things like banner ads and Overcast apps and things like that. But this strategy, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about it.
But just to close this loop real quick, Adam's podcast is called Podcasting Business School. The School of Podcasting is Dave Jackson's show. So I was getting the two mixed up. So this one's his show's Podcasting Business School, and he's the one who introduced us to Salome and got those amazing results from a Facebook ad that he learned from her. So thanks again, Adam. But yeah, as far as this episode goes, I was just really putting all the pieces together as she was talking, because she was talking about the top of funnel stuff that we kind of talked about with Kurt, where you're going after the engagement, just get people to engage with you. And then when they engage, then you put them in the middle of funnel. And we've never really used it in the flow that she's talked about, right? We're when we are driving people to our podcast, we're mostly driving them to where they can get the companions. We put them on our list. Once they're on our list, then we try to get people to go listen to episodes of our podcast by emailing about podcast episodes. We've never really tested a whole lot, just driving straight from an ad to our show notes page. And I think what she was breaking down is something that'll be really fun for us to test with that.
Yeah. And it doesn't take, I like her approach because it's not taking a big budget to make this happen. She literally said, just set it and kind of forget it with a small daily budget. Did she say like $5 a day on these ones?
$5 a day.
Cool. Yep. Yeah. Cause she was giving us some kind of targets. And I think she even talked about targets a little bit, like metrics to kind of look out for after we recorded, because we asked her a little bit more. But yeah, like the whole concept, and we'll share those as well, we'll recap them. But like the concept of, the engagement, I think that's just really cool, because the fact that you don't need to run ads with a CTA, I think that's the biggest thing that's probably, stopping a lot of engagement, or just trying to be too salesy, too pushy right from step one with a cold audience. But even to your existing audience, like if they're not warmed up enough, you probably don't need to be running ads that are constantly telling them to do something, go do something. It's like Facebook. There's a line. I know I've said it to Matt way too many times now, but in Derek Sivers' new book, your music and people, it's called. There's just an analogy of like, those guys that are sometimes on the street corners, just like shouting at people to like listen to their CD. And yes, people still do this. I was at the beach not too long ago and I saw these guys like trying to hawk their rap CDs. I'm like, really? CDs? but they were kind of like that. They were just being loud. They're right in the middle of everything, like trying to get, and it's like, usually those are the ones ignored. I feel like that's kind of like a Facebook ad or any kind of ad that's just like screaming for your attention, yelling at you. It's like, is that really what people want? Is that the journey you want to start and like lead people in on? And that's where I love Salome's approach to just give and have people actually feel something cool and good and laugh, or maybe it is controversial a little bit, but it like weeds out the people that you really want, to engage with your stuff. So it's just like any normal post on social.
Yeah, I do think people with Facebook ads get too hung up in like, I need to drive a Facebook ad to something where I'm going to get a lead or something where I'm going to get a sale. I mean, one of the common things we hear from people over the last 3 years is, man, we see you guys everywhere, right? Like you guys, I'm seeing your ads, and and for whatever reason, people always goes, you guys are crushing it right now. You guys are just killing it right now because I'm seeing you everywhere. Well, here's the deal. We're doing that through ads where we're not asking for anything. We're just like, hey, here's a cool piece of content. Let's just put it out in front of either our ideal audience or our existing audience, right? Either through retargeting or cold ads. We're just putting cool, valuable content in front of people, and we're not we may put like, hey, you want more, go listen to the podcast, but we're not even putting like a lot of times links to where they could go listen to the podcast. We're like, we're just putting valuable content, hopefully trying to get people to go, oh, I really like what these guys put out, and then dig deeper and go research us more and kind of go down our rabbit hole, which is one of my cliches I'm finding out.
Bingo. Got bingo. I don't know if we're doing that or not, but we'll see. People will get that reference if they're in the Facebook group. Go to flowchartgroup.com. Go check it out. Flowchartgroup.com. Shameless plug. It's free.
Shameless plug. This is where we're supposed to plug it.
Oh, yeah. And the point, call to action. You also get the action guide of this episode. We should probably mention that. Because, I feel like there were a lot of good tidbits in this one that were mixed in even with the intro or like her just telling her background and stuff, but then the tactics. So go get the free action guides where we make it very clear and linear for you. Sue on the team is a magician at that. If you go to flowchartgroup.com, it's free. If you give your email, you also get the notes, but you get access to our Facebook group. 2 weeks of this episode going live, you'll get those notes for free.
Well, we can go ahead and wrap up this outro.
Surely. Oh, let's mention the metrics one more time, though. Because I promised we would do that. You opened
a loop on people.
I did. How dare I and not close it? So she basically said, so for when you're running these engagement ads, and primarily we're talking about podcast ads, is you first want to find an ad or if you're running an ad, kind of look for a unique link CTR click-through rate of above 1%. Is where she said is a good place to start. And then when you do make these ads that are running to the show notes pages, you're shooting for about $1 to $1.50 a click on a landing page view. Is the objective in there. And just real quickly, the difference between a click and a landing page, people probably going, well, what's the difference, right? Well, if somebody clicks on your ad and the page doesn't load, or it loads slow and they click away, that's not a landing page view, right? So if you're looking at your Facebook ads, the amount of landing page views is always going to be a little bit lower than the amount of clicks, because there are going to be some people that click over and maybe they don't want to wait for it to load, or maybe they click over to another tab and they close out the tab and actually never view the page, right? That kind of thing. So landing page views and clicks, there is a slight distinction, but really that distinction is the people that actually got a chance to view the page, right? Would that be smart to just always run those over clicks? Oh, yeah. Well, because it's quality, right? Obviously, it might be more expensive.
But so here's the thing. Yes, but you don't always have a pixel on the page you're driving to. So Facebook doesn't always know if it's a landing page view. So for example, if we're driving traffic to an affiliate offer that we don't have a pixel on that landing page, I can't optimize for landing page views. I can only optimize for clicks.
I follow. So if it's an internal page, you better have a pixel on that bad boy. Page that you own, and that primarily should be a landing page view if it's going to your own domain.
Yes. Yeah. You want to be optimizing for landing page views if you have control of the pixel. If you don't have control of the pixel, you're going to have to optimize for clicks. So if you were driving straight to an iTunes, like a podcast link on iTunes, you can't optimize for landing page views.
Yeah. You're just going to pay more, or maybe it tells you can't do it. I don't know. But
yeah, it'll just basically show that you never get into landing page views, and it'll struggle to optimize for it. So
yeah, that's right. Because it's always optimizing based off that data, which I love, because this whole thing is feed the machine, the Facebook machine, the algorithm with the engagement data, even if you're priming the pump, which was super cool, because even if you're sending 1 cent engagement actions, within the Facebook platform through your ads, even if you're not sending them to a page or anything, you're still kind of front loading your account in Facebook's eyes, which I could totally see, and where I think everyone should be able to see it with their own accounts on Facebook if they're just posting. It's like, if you post more good shit, you're probably going to get more interactions. But if you just randomly post, or you just post links all the time, or best example is if you share a bunch of political stuff, or really anything. I just said political, so I don't want to jab at them. But if you want to, if you're just sharing all that, you're probably not going to get engagement, because Facebook they don't want that. At least that's not feeding their agenda. So. Yeah,
I mean, we're doing a lot of experimenting with sort of organic reach on Facebook lately, and getting some pretty cool results. And the types of stuff that we're posting organically is probably the same type of stuff we should be posting as engagement ads, because they get if they get engagement organically, then running ads to it's just pouring gasoline on the fire.
Pretty much. Yeah, it seems like you can test it organically and just mess around there, and then it's like, oh, cool, that would be a great ad. Whoop, bring it over there.
Yeah,
brilliant. All right, what else we got, Matt?
Easy Webinar.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Everybody should go check out Easy Webinar. So Easy Webinar, this is actually pretty cool. My kids are doing online. Well, they're doing homeschool, but every once in a while they have an online check-in with like a teacher consultant kind of thing. And we've been hearing a lot that people are doing school through Zoom. Well, the other day I walked out into our dining room where our kids were doing their online stuff, and they were using Easy Webinar for the actual class that they were learning on. So that's awesome that Easy Webinar is getting into the schools now, and people are using that instead of Zoom as an alternative of Zoom for actually the school system.
How are they using it though? Like, it obviously was not a webinar; it was more of a meeting room, right?
I didn't look that close while they were on it, but it was basically like one teacher sort of presenting to a whole bunch of students. But the students had the ability to raise their hand and ask questions and stuff. I just kind of saw it in passing, but it looked very similar to like what you'd expect from like Zoom and the functionality of Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember Casey. So Casey's a buddy of ours, Casey Zeman. He's been on the podcast. So if you want to know more about him, go check out Casey in your app.
Back on the podcast.
We should. No, because a lot has changed in webinars in general, but also Easy Webinars. So let's just wrap it up as saying, obviously there's more to it than just webinars. You can do like meeting rooms, which is kind of like what we were thinking about. I don't know. It's just lots of uses. So Easy Webinar is, what I'm trying to say is they have a killer deal for you, but also on that page, you'll see all the cool stuff they can do for you. Easy Webinar. So it's not just webinars, all this stuff. That's what I was trying to say. So if you go to easywebinar.com/hustle, that's easywebinar.com/hustle, they are hooking you up with a nice discount, and you'll see it on that page.
Go check it out. And if you enjoyed this episode, anybody who has a podcast or trying to build an audience, any of that kind of stuff, share this with them. Let other people know about this info. Don't hoard it. Don't be a hoarder. Okay? Don't be a hoarder.
Why would you hoarder information that's in digital form? That's just weird, because it's still...
So share the love. There's people out there that need you to share this with them.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm getting very serious and intense right now.
You're looking in the camera, and I don't even know if we're going to use this video, but
probably not.
He's looking in the camera, y'all, and he's looking at you, Jim, or Mary, or Sue, or Jacob, or those are now the people on our team. So
you just named all of our team members. Good job.
No, not Mary and Jim. They're not on the team yet, but
not yet. We're looking to hire a Mary and a Jim. So if you know a Mary or a Jim, let us know, because we're looking to hire one.
It's the weirdest thing to say.
No, I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. We're delirious.
Yeah, it's our only podcast today. All right, so thanks for listening. Go share it around. Go flowchartgroup.com for the notes in the group, and see you next time.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of the Hustle and Flowchart podcast. before taking the time to listen, we want to give you something a little bit special. Every single episode that we do, we actually have somebody on our team take notes. We basically have a Cliff's Notes version of every episode where you can go and find all of the tips and tactics that they laid out, all of the resources that they laid out, all the good stuff from this episode. We actually have a nice simple notes version that you can find on our website. So go to evergreenprofits.com, find this episode that you just listened to, and give us your email address and we'll send you the notes. Thanks for listening. Go get it. Wiki. We love you.